Good day, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Nomndeni Mdaki. Thank you for joining me as we celebrate 130 years of Unshakable with PPC. My guest today is Thandeka Nombanjinji. Thandeka was born and raised in the dynamics of the Soweto township. She grew up in a business-orientated territory, her parents being entrepreneurs. She gained knowledge within the property sector. The dynamic young lady started her profession and gained her broad sales and marketing experience through her numerous fruitful years holding the sales executive position inside BMW and Audi groups respectively. Thandeka is a firm believer of being a servant to the community and being an advocate for generational legacy creation for young Black women. With her substantial network, passion for people, knowledge and experience gained throughout the years, Thandeka is well equipped to be part of the extensive property and construction arena. Thank you for joining me, Thandeka.
Thank you very much, Nomndeni.
A bit of some rapid fire questions for us to start, to just get us warmed up. I want to know what book changed your life, the one book that you read and it completely impacted how you see the world.
It was definitely Lift as You Rise by Babu Bonang Mohale.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
Oh, amazing. I haven't read that. I'm definitely going to add it to my
It's a definite
list.
must read because, he was discussing issues that are very close to my heart, and that when you reach a certain level in life, you should never forget where you're coming from. And obviously, the name says it all for itself, that
Absolutely.
You lift as you rise.
Amazing. And what is your favorite way to unplug?
Sure. To be honest, the best way for me to unplug is to just sit at home and do absolutely nothing. And I try and put my phone on silent if I can, because obviously I can't afford to switch it off because there's always something happening,
Absolutely.
on site or work. So the best thing for me to do is to, spend time with my kids at home and just do absolutely nothing.
I love that you mentioned, switching off your phone or putting it on silent, because a lot of people really panic about that, and I can understand there's quite a lot that's happening around you.
Yeah.
But I think the attempt to do that is really, really something courageous. So I applaud you on that one, because I'm very big on work and life harmony and finding a way to just exist in those two spaces. And what apps can you not live without?
Instagram.
That sounds like
I really love Instagram, not only because of the social network part of it, but, sometimes you wake up and you're feeling a bit down. It's also important as to who are the type of people you follow and what do you draw from those people. So, when you open up Instagram and you're able to see those motivational quotes and things that will help you, just get your day started and
Absolutely.
feel more positive.
I feel like I am amongst the kindred spirits, because I studied marketing as well, and I went into the field and I practiced some marketing and communications. I want to know how you ended up in marketing juxtaposed against where you are now and the fact that you actually grew up in an entrepreneurial home. What directed you into that space? And then how did you eventually get to where you are today?
Yes, when I was in high school, I was very confused as to what it was that I was going to study. Once I finished my studies, I had a chat with my aunt. She said, you know what, your personality is very dynamic. So she felt that, I should look into doing PR. And when I read up on it, I was like, okay, it seems like it's well suited, to my personality. It goes back to the fact that when you're passionate about something, you must follow that passion and not simply go for something because someone suggested it or you confused and you just go for it just for the sake of doing it. I did have a passion for PR, but not as much as I did for, construction and property development. As you've mentioned, I grew up in a family of entrepreneurs. Both my late parents were entrepreneurs. My dad was a property developer. And when I was a young girl, he used to drive around with us and, to see, a building actually starting out as a piece of land. And, as you keep on going on the weeks to follow and you see it coming up to being an incredible structure, it felt a bit like magic back then. And I knew, during those moments that, you know what, I think this is what I really want to do. I want to follow that passion.
I think for everyone who's following this conversation, we're getting a hint that you need to trick your kids into really participating in your business so that you can get them back into the business and really doing that work. But I'm also curious. I grew up in an entrepreneurial home, and sometimes I worry about my kids getting into entrepreneurship. What was it like for you growing up in an entrepreneurial home? Was it a secure home? A lot of times when our parents are business owners and still establishing their businesses, there are challenges that come with that period in life. Were you even aware of these challenges? What was the dynamic at home?
My dad was one of those people who would take no for an answer. So our weekends and school holidays meant that, we were summoned to go and work in the family businesses. And, back then we used to hate it, my siblings and I. We just felt that, it's a bit too much for us. We want to get to be kids and play with our friends. But, now that I'm older, I see the lessons that came with that because, having to, first of all, you learn discipline. Having to wake up on a weekend, normally you'd be tired, because we would have school the whole week. And then having to wake up early on a weekend, it's dedication. It shows you that you need to work hard for whatever it is you want in life. Going into the store, having to deal with clients and to deal with different customers, it means that you're dealing with different personalities and have to understand that there's different dynamics in a business, and that you won't always get friendly people, and also learning how to deal with difficult clients, and learning the challenges of preparing your budgets, and knowing that, whatever comes into the business is not for your own personal use. It needs to be reinvested into the business. Such lessons, you can never get them from anywhere else. So, I'm a firm believer that if you have kids, try and, get them to come, get them involved, even though it's not their passion. But they'll sort of figure themselves out at a later stage. But it's important to give them those fundamental lessons when they, starting out in life.
Okay, so on the same topic, are your kids doing the same things that you were doing on weekends? And if yes, how do you strike the balance between the time that you spend with them that has nothing to do with work and the time that you maybe bring them into your workspace and really get them involved so that they can get the similar lessons that you got as a child?
Yeah, my daughter, during school holidays, she would come to the office with me at times, just to learn, the environment of how it feels like to be in a corporate or business environment. And I feel that it's very beneficial because she gets to learn that, how is the money made? Because kids are always about how are we spending the money?
Yes,
they don't
absolutely
understand how difficult it is to actually make it, And I was laughing the last time because she sat in a meeting, I think, for 3 hours. And she was like, Mom, I can't believe you guys actually do this all the time. You can sit in a meeting for so long discussing, the same issue over and over again, and you won't leave until you reach a conclusion or, you come up with a solution.
Yeah.
And I think those are very pertinent lessons, for a youngster.
I think I actually had a conversation with another mom who did something similar. I think she was traveling to London for work and her kids were complaining like, oh, you get to have all the fun, you're traveling. And then she said, no problem, you guys can come along and you'll come along to all my meetings. And she says by the time they were done with the first meeting, they wanted to go back home. But she said, now you're here, so we're doing this. Speaking about some of those things that, people glamorize within entrepreneurship, what is the worst part for you in being an entrepreneur? And I know you love what you do and you love the space that you work in.
Yeah.
But what do you find to be the part that you don't like so much about being an entrepreneur?
Obviously, getting your hands dirty, Sometimes I would be running around like a headless chicken, Yeah, because obviously in public we look like we have it all together, and there are those moments where you really don't know where to start, and you just have to make things happen whether people are there or not. You know, I'm not always looking this good. You know, I'm usually in my PPE and I'm in my boots, and you know, you just have to be there on the ground and get things going.
I think the one thing that I've heard in a lot of the conversations I've had with women in construction is the importance of really getting your hands dirty and being visible and understanding every single part of how your business operates from the beginning to the end. When you think about some of the conversations you had with your parents, who I understand were in the same industry, in hindsight, what are some of the most powerful lessons that you've brought forward being in the industry today, particularly as a woman, that have, you know, when you think about it, you say to yourself, if I did not know that, I might have fallen here, but because I am a woman in the space?
I believe, you know, first and foremost, financial literacy is of the highest importance. It's all good and well that we teach our kids or the people that we mentor all about business, but most businesses fail because of the lack of financial literacy. It's important to know that a business is a separate entity.
Yes.
To yourself. You need to pay yourself a salary, and if the business did not do well, why should you earn anything from it? You don't deserve it. So
that's a tough
you
one.
always have to treat yourself as an employee within your own structures of business. Being the boss does not mean that you take everything and, you know, everyone else doesn't matter. You are also an employee, and you also need to put in your work to make sure that it happens.
That's so powerful. Why should you get paid if the business is not doing well? I think that's such a powerful question that we all need to ask ourselves as entrepreneurs, particularly when we choose to go into these fields and we want to make them work. Because you grew up in a space where there were entrepreneurs, and then you went and you worked for BMW specifically, when you came back and you said, I'm going to start a business, what are the biggest obstacles that you faced? I mean, did you not remember your salary and you're like, that was comfortable?
Oh, yes.
What is going on here? When am I getting paid?
Yes, that certainly, you know, that happened. You know, when I started in construction, I was actually already, you know, the CEO of a family-owned business, which is Nombanjiji Family Property. Well, then I thought about it. I said, you know what, I actually want to get on the development side of things and actually start a construction company. And I thought it was going to be all roses and easy, you know, to start. Because, I mean, for me, that was the first generation business that I was creating. So it was not, you know, taking over something that was already started from the family. So when I started, you know, the experience was not a great one, especially because of the patriarchy. You know, a lot of doors were shut because I'm female. And I told myself that, you know, not if I make it, I told myself that when I make it, I'm actually going to do something about this and change the entire structure of how, you know, construction is for females, because there's a lot of challenges that we face, and it's extremely difficult. I feel that sometimes certain things take 10 times longer for us to achieve simply because of our gender. It's not an easy process, and there was a lot of learning that I had to do. And how I started was that I spoke to a friend that owns a construction company. And I told him that, you know what, I think I want to get into this. And thank God he gave me a chance, because he thought I was playing, because I said to him, I'm willing to start from the ground up. And I went there, I was an intern. I was already a CEO of another company, but I felt that, you know what, I'm willing to start from scratch and be an intern in another company to learn the ropes within construction. And that's how I got to learn, you know, how is a foundation made? What happens, you know, what goes into making a foundation? And, you know, I feel that there's no greater lesson you can get in life more than actually practically experiencing something. You can learn all of the books in the world about something, but not having that practical experience, then it leaves you, lacking somehow. So I got to actually learn how everything was done. I got to see the dynamics. I got to see how we as women, are not prioritized, because it was like I would come across the smallest things, like the bathrooms, for instance. They were not catering for us females. We had to share, the toilet facilities with males. And can you imagine how that experience would be like? So, I told myself that, I think I must restructure my company to be inclusive for females and to look at the smallest things, that many people might think they're small, but they're a big deal to us as females within the industry.
I think a common thread in a lot of the conversations I've been having with women in construction is the challenges that they're facing, particularly because they're women. And we've spoken about it in theory, but I want you to just draw us in maybe and share an example that is practical of something that you faced, which was a huge challenge, that you recognize that you were faced with this challenge because you're a woman and not because you're just a person who's in construction, but particularly because you're a woman.
There was an incident where we were having a meeting for a new project that we were supposed to start. There were other contractors it was a group of contractors that were invited to be part of that project. And while we were having the conversation as to how we're gonna share the scope of work, amongst ourselves, and then there was a gentleman. The guys were talking by themselves, they kept on going on, and until it got to a point where they discussed what everyone else is taking, and then they ended with me, and they said, "Oh, by the way, so what are you gonna do? Are you gonna clean the windows once we're done building?" Yes. So those are the type of realities we face. And, it was sort of disheartening that, me as a woman, so all you see is someone that will only come and clean the windows once you've done building up a structure. And I felt that I'm not going to let this one go. I spoke to the gentleman after. I said, "Excuse me, what exactly, were you talking about when you said we will come in and clean the windows once you guys are done?" And I asked him, "What's your CIDP grading?" And he gave me, a smirky look, and he didn't want to answer me. And I said, but anyway, we are a grade 7 GB and 7 CE, and we didn't get here by cleaning windows. You better start respecting us. Ever since that, he's just been out of my way.
Yeah. Do you find that you come across similar companies when you navigate projects? And I'll tell you why I asked this. One of the things I did coming into this conversation, I asked a woman who follow me on Instagram to share a couple of questions that they might have for women in construction, because they don't have the opportunity maybe to ask these questions. And one of the ladies asked, how difficult is it to land projects in the space? And is it true that it's saturated? So when you think about the projects that you do you find that you come across the same people? And what is this conversation around saturation?
The industry is definitely saturated. But at the same breath, when we look at female-owned entities, we've got about 48% female-owned companies that are within the sector, but 95% of those are between the CIDP grading of 1 and 3, which means that you cannot do projects that are over and above 2 million, which is very sad, because then it means that females are not big players in the industry. There's a lot of companies that are there, but they are not getting the opportunity or actually getting to progress because of the huge red tape that there is. There is that misconception that females cannot build, females cannot do a man's job. And, it's up to us that have been, blessed enough to be able to make it in this industry, to make sure that we showcase and make sure that we let the people know that it is possible for a female to be able to build. It is possible for a female to be able to make it work and to grow within this sector.
Speaking of the grace that you mentioned of having built these businesses to where they are right now, where you're dealing with big contracts and you're managing and really going from land to tall buildings, what have you found has been the secret in your ability to land projects? Because I imagine when you come into the space, you don't really know how you need to go about it. There's a lot of political issues, there's red tape, like you mentioned. How do you navigate all of these challenges, particularly as a woman, when no one is expecting you to be at the level where you are?
Yeah, I always say when you're doing work, make sure you do it right. Make sure you are meticulous in everything that you do, because there's nothing else that it does not help me saying that no, I must be awarded a contract because I'm female. I want to empower other females. My work has to speak for itself. You need to make sure that every bit of work that you put in, the quality is of, meticulous levels, and you need to make sure that whatever it is that you do, it's work that you'll be proud of. And when you hand over, your project, there aren't any issues, because also you want someone that's going to be able to refer you to other people. So if you haven't done your work in the correct manner and simply feel that you have the rights because you're female and you should be given certain things because of your gender. No, it does not work like that. Hard work only pays.
I really like that at the beginning of our conversation, you mentioned briefly financial literacy as one of the reasons that you see a lot of businesses not being able to grow. If you had to advise a lady who owns a construction company, who's still doing those projects that are less than 2 million rands and is really struggling to manage cash flow and understand what it is that they need to do, what advice would you give them in terms of financial literacy and mistakes that they need to avoid when it comes to finances?
The first thing is to make sure that whatever income that you are receiving, all of that goes back towards the project. You will only get your monies or your profits once your project is complete. Most people make the mistake of wanting to take off, the project as the project is running, because in construction you get paid in milestones. And some people tend to utilize those funds thinking that, okay, I got a paycheck. Forgetting about the fact that that money needs to reinvest into, your next milestone and your next milestone. So, for instance, you when you're building a house, you'll get paid for doing a foundation, and then after your foundation phase, you get paid to do your wall plates. Then you get paid for your roof structure, your electrical and plumbing and all these other things. So it's important to know that, for every milestone, there is money in the bank to make sure that that project carries on. Also, it's very important to create a very good working relationship with suppliers and make sure that you pay them on time. And should you have challenges, at least, communicate with them. Keep them in the loop. They shouldn't be the ones calling you to say, hey, when are you paying us? At least let them know that I'm sorry, I'm getting a bit delayed, but I will honor, those payments. So it's important to have, that openness and just be straightforward with people instead of,
being hiding and not, picking up your phone.
Exactly.
And all of those things. Speaking of payment cycles, I am very interested in understanding for your own business how you are navigating the issues that some small businesses have when it comes to payment cycles from clients, and what you think clients can do in order to better support businesses in making sure that they are getting their cash flowing in and they're able to pay their suppliers so that that chain runs smoothly. We see it in all industries and not just construction. How does it look in construction, and how are you mitigating that challenge of those long payment terms?
You know, it's always better to get, some sort of funding that you, get a funding vehicle that would be able to assist you to carry out a project. Do not depend on, trying to put the monies together as and when you're getting paid. So I feel that the most secure way is to have that funding that you'll get upfront to service the entire project, if possible, or to service the certain milestones that you're gonna be carrying out within the project. So at least you've got that cushion to make sure that should the client pay you late, at least you've got cash flow to help you carry on and without having to be stuck.
One of the things that excites me about you, Thandeka, is your intentionality around empowering women in the space. It's not something that you just talk about. It's something that you have actions backed against, that talk. What inspired that, and what is your organization doing to really make sure that there's a funnel of women coming into the construction industry, and they are not just coming in, but they are growing and being successful as well?
As I mentioned earlier, when I started in the industry, I faced a lot of difficulties. And I felt that, I don't want to make other women struggle the way I did. If I figured out, answers to certain things, why not share that knowledge and create, sort of a home for females within the sector, because there are a lot of women that are highly, qualified and are doing extremely well, but they are not getting opportunities simply because of their gender.
Yeah.
So with Mbokodo Building, we've ensured that we create, structures in place that will support women. We've got the Procured from Women initiative, where we unapologetically only procure, goods and services from female-owned entities. We've got the training program that we do. It's called the Mbokodo training program, where we take females and then they get a CETA accreditation to learn the skills in different skills within construction.
I think that's really, really powerful. Often we do talk about these issues, but we really never know sometimes where to start in making change. So kudos to you for making this initiative possible and making sure that the change is affected. If you had a piece of advice to give anyone who's listening, who's in the construction industry as a woman, or interested in coming into the construction industry as a woman, what would that piece of advice be?
It won't be easy. It's a very difficult journey, but it's one that you mustn't give up on. Just know that, one day it will come right. We also have structures in place to be there to support the women. They must just know that they're never alone. There's always someone, to assist. And they can follow us on our page, on our different pages. We on Instagram, we on Facebook, we on LinkedIn, we on Twitter. We are at Mbokodo Building on all of those platforms.
So for women who have decided that they're going to take the corporate direction in construction, women who are working for organizations like PPC, who engage with you on a daily basis, with companies like yours, what advice would you give them as they navigate the space?
I feel that, it's important to get some sort of a mentorship. Get someone that will help guide you as to how to work your way into that space. It's not easy to climb the corporate ladder, as we know. There's also a lot of challenges there. But I feel that us as women, all we need is to support each other. And when you have people supporting you, I'm sure, we can make a lot of things happen.
Thank you so much for your time, Thandeka. It's been such an honor to have the chance to talk to you about your work. Ladies and gentlemen, that is PPC Conversations with Unshakable Woman. And my last question to you before you leave is, what makes you unshakable?
Oh, that's a very, very tough one. But I think, I stand strong because God is on my side. I feel that my faith, really holds me down. And what makes me unshakable is the fact that, I'm able to be there for others, and I have a greater purpose that is bigger than myself. And that is to help other women and to assist them, along this journey with me.
Well, thank you so much for joining me as we celebrate 130 years of PPC being unshakable. It was such an honor yet again to have this conversation with you, Thandeka. Thank you.
Thank you very much.